hit record. That's perfect. Okay, great. And last thing, let's go ahead and spotlight this guy right here. 3, 2, 1. Let's pin him just like that. Excellent. I'm Chris Trammell. I'm the creator, developer, and head coach of the Author Launchpad, and I cannot thank you enough for being here with me, taking your time to watch this, whether you're going to watch it live, you're watching it in replay, however you're going to watch it. Thank you. I greatly appreciate that you're here to be part of this experience, right? It's not just the education, it's not just the expertise, it's not just the engagement that we're talking about. It is about creating an experience where people get to experience their knowledge, themselves, their power, the difference they want to make newly. That is what I deliver to you. That is what we help to extract from your book. And it's been a pleasure so far to be with you these past 3 days. Today, I've got a great, outstanding guest coming on. But first, before we get started, if you watch, I'm always going to demonstrate what I would like for you to do. And this is really great because today's theme is how do we monetize and how we're going to market and really promote and position you in the marketplace. And so if you're going to market, you got to make sure you're marketing everywhere that you can get your message out to. So I've got my Facebook open right now, and someone just rang my door. I can't get to it. That's part of what happens when you go live. And I know that they're doing construction upstairs, so I might have to just edit this part out. That's part of it. Give me 1 second because they rang twice. Oh my gosh. I'm on a call right now. Let me, can I come out at 1 o'clock?
Yeah, no, it's just whether that long is.
They were supposed to send him today. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Les. And that's what live is all about sometimes. So here inside of our beautiful condominium complex, I'm also part of the leadership. You know, leaders do leadership type things. And I got called right now to help out with one of the groups. So back to where we were. Trust me, I will be editing out this part when I go to put it on YouTube or go to place it somewhere else. What you want to do is, first thing, make sure that you are live. I am checking right now, hitting refresh, and boom, he's live. Checking the sound. Hitting refresh. Sound, great. So I'm gonna put him back on mute. I'm gonna give him a like. I'm gonna go ahead and those 3 little buttons across the top, I'm gonna copy that link and put it over into the Author Launchpad, which is where I want my new community of action-taking nonfiction authors to be. I want to create one of the best communities for nonfiction authors who have a gift, an expertise, a talent, their professional development, their self-development. They are committed that people have what they know in their lives so that it could cause a transformation in someone else's life. That's what I want inside of the Author Launchpad. So if you're watching this and you're like, where do I go? How can I follow this guy? 2 places. One, you go to Chris Trammell Coaching. That's where my main community is, where all my leadership coaching, my leadership live streams, and I've created the community, the Author Launchpad, specifically for nonfiction authors or authors that need that high performance coaching. We're going to talk about that today as well to help you get your work out into the world. Okay. So boom, there it is. And it is live as well there. I'm going to go ahead and don't be afraid to love your own post. Love them. That's part of today's conversation. Are you loving yourself visibly out in front so everybody else gets to see it? That is part of marketing. You might think marketing is just organic or advertising, paid ads, whatever. No, marketing is you showing up, being who you say you are, being authentic, being in your power, empowering others, and really providing a process and a system so other people can deliver their greatness out to the world. That is what marketing is in totality, is how do you get in front of other people and share that unique message that makes you you. So now that I've got that placed there, perfect. I'm going to go back to right here. Check. Got that as well. And now I'm going to refresh this page. And awesome. All right. Well, thank you again. I cannot thank you enough. I say thank you a lot because I really am grateful for your time and attention. There's so much noise out there right now that for you to stop and say, okay, what does this guy got to say? I'll get to it right now. But I'm grateful that you give me that time and attention because you could actually be somewhere else. So let's go ahead and give you what you came for. And then let's create that runway for when Cary Bayer shows up today. Exceptional speaker, author, publisher, written a number of books. And so let's jump right in. First things first that I want to talk about. If you have not printed out your workbook, print out that workbook. I'm going to go ahead and remind you that if you go into the Author Launchpad, there is a link right there. And that's where that workbook is available to you. So if you're watching this on replay, somewhere below is the link for the workbook. Why a workbook? See, this is the thing. When you were a student, middle school, grade school, high school, college, master's, doctorate, you did work. It is the process by which the information seeded itself into your brain so that you could use it in the future. Then you got out into the world and you began to do whatever you did. And the belief of I'm good started to root itself even more to when now if someone says, hey, get out your workbook, you're like, I don't need a workbook. But that's how you learn. That's how other people learn. Now, maybe you're a paper conservative. That's fine. I also have a fillable PDF. Reach out to me and say, hey, Chris, can I please have the fillable PDF? That's what it should be listed as below. But for those of you that are like me, who like to go pen to paper and put all your notes there, well, then print it out, write it down. Because look, here's the thing. This is like the fundamental underpinnings of the Author Launchpad. Ahas are great. Ahas without action are empty. Ahas are great, but ahas without action are empty. Now, let's say you do include the action and you write it down. You say, I'm going to do this. Now, here's the other part of that. By when? You must have a action by when. I will, whatever you say you're going to do, by when. That's what performance coaching is. A performance coach helps you do what you said you were going to do by when. It holds a loving, firm accountability in your life for those actions and the results that you say are going to make a difference to you. You need a performance coach if you do not have one. And if you've got a nonfiction book, you need a signature program. You need a high level masterclass, a workshop, in time, an online course. Do not come out of the gates with an online course. So many people are like, can you give me an online course? Yes, I can. But if you haven't tested out what exactly it is that people want from you, you are creating an online course in a silo based on what you think they need. How many times have you told somebody, don't tell me what I need. You should listen to me. You never listen to me. Like those words ever come out of your mouth? You never listen to me. Look it doesn't change. Even though you are writing from your zone of expertise, the nuances of the kaleidoscope of the human process is different for each person. You've got to listen to your audience's words. It is part of marketing. You have to talk to them. How would you like to learn this? If I were to turn my book into a class, what part of my book do you like the most? Marketing. Put up a post. I'm going to be creating a course around my book. What do you think are some of the most important things that you would want to take in my course? Let them tell you. I know your table of contents is brilliant. It has all of these genius entries and chapters and to-dos. But look, they're a little overwhelming sometimes. There's so many different pieces inside of that. So you got to distill it down. You can't give everybody everything at one time. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose. It doesn't work. So let me share something with you as we talk about why I create marketing specifically this way. Let's bring this image up right here. So why I do it in a very specific way. If you were with me yesterday, Catherine Dove was on, who's my online course mentor. And we talk about creating a revenue roadmap. Now, for us, it's a revenue roadmap. And for you, it's going to be your revenue roadmap as well. I want you to insert name of your book or name of your process up top. And then I want you to think about, okay, well, what am I going to market? Well, that is part of phase 2, step 5, right? What is the online done for you web platform that I'm going to build with you? I'm going to build your funnel. I'm going to model it just right after the best funnels that are out there. When you're in the program, I'll show you, like, look, here's your funnel. This is what we're going to model. This is the lead magnet we're going to put there. Here's the chapter from your book we're going to lead with, and ask people, would you like to download the chapter of this book and start to understand why I chose this process? That's the kind of marketing that I want you to be thinking about. You spend time marketing, trying to sell a book, trying to sell a couple books on Amazon. I want you to have those sales. I really do. But how I want you to get there is by getting the revenue monkey off your back and selling your program. So here inside of step 5, what is that beautiful page we're going to create with you that says exactly what you do? It says who you do it with, not who you can do it. Not says who you do it with and the persons you're not a best fit for. You got to be able to attract and repel. It's okay to have the attract and repel. Because once you have your revenue roadmap, the same thing that you're looking at here that I build with you, and once you have your own funnel and a very nice about you page that goes along with it that qualifies you so that they do book a call with you, they do get that lead magnet from you, now you'll really start to unleash that confidence in you. And that's what I was describing at the beginning. See, you think marketing is just mechanics. Maybe not all of you watching this. Marketing is just as much mindset as it is mechanics. How do you show up? How do you speak confidently? Now, look, let me just back up and call one out on myself. And this is part of the performance side of the program, the performance side of marketing. I was very fortunate that I was not talented in my youth. I was short, I was chubby, I had a very late growth spurt, came almost like sophomore, junior year in high school. For everybody else that were naturals in sports, it took me like 2 or 3 times the amount of time that I had to put in to get to that same level of participation. And so, knowing that it took me that, I had to come up with other compensations to have people like me, to be part of the social group, because you weren't going to pick me to be on your team because I was the chubby, slow kid. So don't pick Chris. He's not a ringer for us. So I had to figure out other ways of being liked. I learned how to make people laugh. I learned how to have people feel connected. I learned to be the class clown at times. So this mechanics that you see right here is very much part of how I have developed this presence. And then I became a track and field coach, where I really was committed to having people have those podium moments in their lives. And then for 15 years, I was the science department chair and curriculum writer at the Los Angeles Zoo High School. So then for those 15 years, I was writing courses and elevating people and training and developing and training and developing. So it's been part of my life process to develop my on-camera self, to develop my stage presence. And that is a very important part of this. Now I see my guest is coming in. I'm going to go ahead and let Cary in to the waiting room. I'm going to give him just a moment more. Cary, if you see this, I'm going to bring you in just a moment because we're talking marketing, and I'm going to get you in here in just 1 second. So when it comes to marketing, I really want you to not only think about, well, how do I market? How do I do a lead magnet? How do I do funnels? What should I lead with first? Here's what you'll see. Marketing. Let me, clients, coaches, consultants, you want to learn how I created $100,000 months every year? Click on this link below and I'm going to show you behind the curtain exactly what it takes to make $100,000 a year. Now, for some of you, that's like, oh, I make that already. For others of you, it would be a dream to hit that dollar amount consistently. See, what they're not telling you is we've developed a process. We've developed a system. We have enough money now that we could throw at the ad machines to bring people in. They're not telling you, look, there's work that is needed to be done. See, it's sexy to throw out big numbers. It's sexy to show the cars. It's sexy to show the vacations. That's part of that glamour marketing. That's part of that, attraction marketing. That's what people want. But what we need are processes. What we need are systems. What we need is that opportunity to be able to deliver your best product reliably over and over. That's what marketing also has you be able to do. So I'm going to go ahead and I've let Cary Bayer in right now. Cary, I've got you not spotlighted right now, so you're good for just a moment. If you give me just another 2 minutes, I will bring you on and we'll spotlight, and then we'll take them to that next section together.
Okay.
Right on, Cary. And so for those of you that are watching, here's the other thing about marketing right now that is becoming more and more evident as there's more noise in the market space. People want trusted leaders. They want someone they could trust right now. The online platform of the pandemic where everybody could sell something. You could sell how to play a guitar. You could sell how to weave a blanket. There's so many things that you were able to sell. That wave has subsided. And now people are smarter. Money is a little bit tighter for some. If not, people are more discerning how they're going to spend their money. And that is where you're going to go ahead and really think about that thought leadership that you want to bring forward. Be someone that they trust. So inside of your marketing, Not only are you providing great, valuable content that they're able to put into action, but you're also demonstrating your competency. You're demonstrating your conviction. You're demonstrating your promise, and you're demonstrating your process. So again, if you're keeping track here inside of the workbook pages, I apologize, I didn't slow down to point it out to you. We are on day 3. And because now that we got Cary coming on, I'm gonna be taking notes once he jumps in here. Day 3, where it says launch your expertise online, no more tech overwhelm. Look, that's why I put that in there. I'm going to handle your funnel. I'm going to show you what the best chapter might be in your book, or you're going to tell me this is what people really like in my book. We're going to create that funnel. We're going to create something that starts to naturally book calls with you. Don't go throw money at ads right away. Get good at building the muscles of the basics of marketing. Because if not, you'll start spending on things that you don't know why you're spending the way you're spending. And really, I could see Cary's wheels turning, because this is part where he's masterful at. And I look forward to bringing him on in just a second. So Cary, how about now that I've opened up the runway about marketing, would it be a good time to bring you on and introduce you to our guest?
Sure. The wheels are spinning, but fortunately there's no ice underneath them, so they're able to move quickly.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am adding, perfect. I have got Cary Bayer here with us today. Cary, it is a pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you so much for being a yes. And first and foremost, before anything else, Cary, I want to apologize to you. You give me a short runway to demonstrate imperfect action. So ladies and gentlemen, I had a really fantastic guest. Cary's a fantastic guest. Someone else that was going to be on today, she came down with some sort of flu that took her right out of the game. And then she had a family mishap over the weekend that took her out of the game again. And she's like, Chris, I don't think I could be there on Wednesday. I said, look, that's all right. I've got another colleague that I've been wanting to have come on to share the expertise. Let me reach out to him. So Cary says yes. And inside of Cary saying yes, I quickly pivoted to make our announcements. But I didn't change the dates. I didn't change the names in the right places. I put Cary's pictures in. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not always going to be perfect, but you got to keep moving forward. And then you apologize to your crew. You go back, you fix it. I've updated all of those, Cary. So now they all say Cary Bayer, Wednesday, 12/29, as they should have. And I just, first and foremost, I wanted to apologize for that. And I want to thank you for being a yes to be here today, Cary. So I'm going to pause for a second. How about you introduce yourself, Cary? What would you like people to know about you before we launch into our conversation today?
Well, thank you, Chris. It's a pleasure to be here. I've written 18 nonfiction books, mostly personal growth oriented. I've been a life coach since 2001. I've been a meditation teacher since I'm the age of 20. So I guess that's a good 10 years now. For those of you who might just be listening, that's a joke. I'm quite a bit older than 30. Listening rather than watching, I should say. I want to say, the first thing I want to say is that, and I've been, yeah, so as a life coach and meditation teacher, I've been essentially writing books to address those people on my list, thousands of the people on my mailing list. But the first thing I want to say is about the relationship between the word author and authority. When you write a book, you're called an author, and an author has authority. Those are etymologically very clearly linked words. And so as an author, it's important that you recognize that people will see you as an authority on whatever the topic happens to be. What I've noticed is a beautiful dialectic relationship between the book that you write and marketing that through classes, for example, or workshops. So, for example, if you're the author of something, like, for example, I have, just as a person, as an example, I've written a book called How to Overcome Procrastination Now. And
Mm,
so procrastination is something that affects, millions and millions of people. So as
right.
okay, Chris, for those who are just listening, Chris pointed to himself. Yeah, it's unfortunately it's endemic, not a pandemic, but endemic to so many
Yeah.
people.
Oh, I'd say it's pan. I think most of the world experiences it too.
Yeah, probably right. So at any rate, the point that I'm getting at is that as a result of writing that book, it was very easy for me to book workshops on that particular topic. So then, numbers of people come looking for some support on how to overcome procrastination. And what happens is they wind up buying many copies of my book. I mean, not, each person doesn't buy many
Yes.
copies, but many, many people buy a copy. Sometimes they buy a copy for their husband or wife or kids or parents. And because I'm also a life coach, many of them became personal clients of mine as well. And so what occurs here is you could see the relationship between having a book, booking a class based on the book, and then selling the book in the class, or in my case, selling, coaching services, or in some cases, since procrastination stresses people out, meditation program as well. So that's the first thing I want to say about the relationship between author and authority, and the use of your book to generate these other kinds of streams of revenue. The other thing I want to say about a book is to always have it in your car wherever you go. So for example, if I take a vacation I live on the ocean in South Florida. If I go to California, where Chris is, right? You're in California, Chris?
That's right. That is correct.
So if I go to California, I'm going to have some copies of my book with me. Obviously, when I'm local, I have a whole suitcase of books. Oh, thank you. There's one. Star Wars, Yoga, The Force, and You. That's me as Yoda for those who are just listening. And so then, you go into bookstores and you see if they'll take your book. And in some cases, if you're there for a period of time, it's less so with vacations. But if you're going to be more local, uh, again, opportunities to sign books, which for the bookstore means sales of books. For
Mhm.
those who have other services in addition to being writers, such as speakers or coaches, for example, the opportunity to get speaking engagements or coaching clients also grows out of those situations. So, it's essential once you're an author to have that with you at all times.
So great. Ladies and gentlemen, you could see why, whether you're with us live here on the different streams or you're watching this in replay, why I brought Cary Bayer in, and so excited to have him, because he has that knowledge, he has that expertise. He just gave you two great pathways. When I say bring a book to life, Cary's absolutely demonstrating and speaking to what does that mean? It means you create a workshop from it. You actually take like the core principles from your book and turn it into a workshop so that people have the real-time coach. Cary, one of the things that I'm committed to inside of my program and in general is moving authors from the domain of author writer into the domain of author coach,
Oh, yeah.
author difference maker. How
Mhm.
has that made a difference for you to say, you know what? Yeah, I wrote something, but impact occurs in action.
Oh yeah, I mean, for example, while my coaching practice includes, the general population, I have developed a niche working with massage therapists. Actually, what happened was I had written columns for massage publication in the state of Florida, and as a result of that, um, uh, I happened to be at speaking at one of their state conferences,
Mhm.
and attending the state conference were representatives of the National Association as well. They saw my stuff, heard my talk, and as a result, I was invited to give the national keynote address. Now that
Wow.
opened me up to,
Wow.
yeah, right. I sold, dozens and dozens of books after my talk. And to this day, I've coached, I've counted that one day, more than 325 different massage therapists. Now, that's really a function of having, in that case, a national platform. But all of that ultimately came down to simply writing a monthly column for a state a newsletter, which then got me into a state annual conference, which got me into the national keynote, which got me into selling dozens and dozens of books, which then got me into uh, uh, several hundred clients. So it's really a function of extending yourself, and writing is a perfect way to do that. Writing turns into speaking, can turn into coaching, and so forth. So don't let your talent, if you have a talent as a writer, don't let it be passive. Let it be active. Be proactive rather than reactive. Don't let that book just sit there on your shelf. Use it as a marketing tool to, along the lines of something that I just discussed.
Wow. Be proactive. Don't just let it sit there. So, ladies and gentlemen, Cary and I met at the Kauai Writers Conference. And one of the things that I observed there, Cary, so I want to go down this road of being proactive.
Sure.
I see a lot of authors waiting for permission, waiting for a gatekeeper to go like, yeah, you're worth it. Nah, we don't like it. And I saw when certain things were said in that conference, I would look at the faces where people would just be like, oh gosh, like they wore that comment about who you can be or who you can't be based
Right.
on someone else's experience, like
Right.
it was going to be their experience. And I thought, oh my God, that's so heartbreaking. No. How have you, dealt with that in that proactiveness?
Yeah, well, first of all, I never take quote. First of all, the word rejection I put in quotes because it's not a permanent thing. But I never take it personally. That's
Mm,
important. When you take it personally, it can really lower your spirits, and you just got to keep moving on. I mean, one of the things I remember, in teaching workshops for over 25 years now, I've seen did some research. Harlan Sanders, who is the fellow who ultimately was the guy who, was responsible for Kentucky Fried Chicken. He had over
yeah.
900 rejections for his recipe. Over
Wow.
900 rejections. Didn't stop him. I mean, now, he's passed on, but I'm sure his heirs have inherited, a giant fortune. Why? Two reasons. One, he had a product that ultimately people liked, even though 900 passed on it.
Yeah.
But persistence, persistence,
Yes.
persistence, persistence. By the way, did I say persistence, Chris? I wasn't sure if I used the word
What
persistence.
else do you think makes persistence?
Yes, that's it. That is, some people have estimated that persistence is 80% of success, just keeping at it. And I know not everybody has a tough skin,
Right.
but I
Very.
encourage you, to recognize, as I said, the word rejection in quotes. Don't take it personally. Keep moving. Somebody, a well-known teacher from about 2,000 years ago, whose birthday is coming up on the 25th of December, said and I'm paraphrasing slightly, he said to his apostles, if you're not received well in one town, just, get the dust off your feet and move on to the next one. And I have come to accept that as a kind of mantra, really. You just keep moving on. You're
Right.
not going to, nobody is universally accepted. Even the Beatles weren't universally accepted. Everybody has detractors. Everybody has people who say no. And just because one person says no doesn't mean no. It just means they said no, and they just said no for now. It could be yes later, but you keep moving on. It's a giant world out there. You just keep moving on and don't take rejection personally.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're done. Cary just gave you everything that you needed about marketing and taking yourself out into the world. That was brilliant. It was
Thank you.
perfect. It was
Thank you.
simple. And inside of that persistence, as both coaches, one of the things that I think you would align with is practice. The persistence is also a function of practice, because as you persist, you get better. And that's what's going to elevate your performance to, like what Cary said, maybe it's a no now because your level of performance is not at where you think you are, and someone else could see it. Cary's a coach. I'm a coach. You can't see your own eyebrows. You can't see yourself playing when you're on the field. We can. So get that coach that, so, hey, if you want to be persistent and you want to elevate your performance, reach out. You got Cary Bear, you got myself, but you need that. So if you're going to stay in persistence, have somebody who elevates your performance as well.
You know, Phil Jackson, who owns more rings as the for championship coaching of at the NBA level, wound up, of course, coaching the Chicago Bulls. But before he coached the Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan played for the team for a number of years, never won a championship until Phil Jackson came along. Now, what am I saying? They call Phil the Zen coach. I mean, he introduced a kind of spirituality, really, consciousness to the world of basketball, which, you know, wasn't a lively part of basketball players' psyches, but he introduced that really to the team. Michael wound up with 6 rings. So coincidence? Maybe, maybe not, probably not. The point being, if the greatest basketball player who's ever lived needed a coach who brought consciousness to his game, maybe you can too.
Cary, it's perfect. I knew it. Okay, so on that note, let's talk about, let's stay in the consciousness area, because most people do not equate marketing with consciousness.
Wow.
And I think that marketing is 100% how you show up. Now, I'm an advocate for people to show up live on camera, whether it's to do an interview like we're doing together, so the know, like, and trust factor gets handled. People get to resonate with an energy. They may like it. They may like a more muted style, but they can't learn that about you if they can't talk to you. So this is one of the ways that I love to market. Is I like to gab, I like to go live, I like to bring my knowledge that way. What are some of your favorite ways that you like to market? Because you have consciously said, this is how I show up best.
Yeah, for me, it's more in person than on Zoom. Zoom is better than showing up on print. It's better than an audio podcast, in my opinion, because it introduces the visual element. But for me, my experience has been being in front of people. And I found that when I was in front of people in a workshop, percentage of people who wound up becoming clients was so much higher than when I was giving the same workshop on Zoom. Because
Yes.
on Zoom, while it's excellent in many ways, it brings people, I mean, we're 3,000 miles apart, but here we are talking to one another, seeing one another. So that's great. But it doesn't give the same 100% attention that you'll get in a personal space. There's you mentioned, I think you said energy before. Yeah, there's an energy, an aura around people. And I know from my own experience that when I'm in front of people, things happen. People have responded. I'm not, and if I can be immodest, I think it has to do with when people sense that a presenter is very comfortable and knows what he's talking about, and is able to reach into their own hearts and minds and help them with whatever's holding them back, they feel a chemistry. And that chemistry is a little harder, in my opinion, to create on Zoom, harder still on an audio podcast, harder still just in print.
I agree with you. All of that 100%. Being in person, yeah, my enrollment and ability to register people in person is really great. You know, when they talk about what's your conversion rate, I do really well that way. I do oh, I would say pretty good, above average on Zoom. But if it's just through print or getting better on developing my marketing funnels and dialing that in, the more that I talk to people, right? That's one thing we'll talk about next, is how we think people are listening to us versus what they really want to hear from us. I've gotten much better that way. So, ladies and gentlemen, conscious marketing, you heard it here. I think it might be used somewhere else, but I'm going to say you heard it here. Conscious marketing, where do you show up best? Go there. Do it your way. When you hear, like, do you, boo, they're saying show up the way you're going to show up so that you feel most comfortable in your skin, you're most authentic with your messaging. And if you notice how Cary and I are both really like, when we share, we give it right into the lens, like you're right there with us. Share that way. Bring that energetics. It's not just the mechanics of process or strategy, or what are the right words. It's process, mechanics, and energetics has to be part of your marketing bracket. So Cary, I just said it and I missed it. Oh yes, listening to your audience. A lot of times we think that we know what they're thinking. How have you learned over time to use the words of your audience and your ideal client that's looking for you?
Well, that's a great question. One of the things I do in all my classes, I give out a sheet for people to fill out and to return to me before the class starts. It asks for all their contact information. It asks a variety of questions, some of which involve, like, what are you most looking for in today's class? What is it that you think is holding you back from achieving what it is you really want? So before the class even starts, I have it right in front of me, what it is people are looking for and what they think are their obstacles. So I address those very directly. But I want to add one more thing about being in person. They say that the fear of public speaking is among the top 5 or even the top 3 fears that people have. I always found that really quite amusing. It's like I think in some cases it's like over death. People are more afraid of public speaking than of dying, which I always found kind of funny. But I want to say, for those who might be afraid to speak in public, that there is a tremendous energy that comes to the presenter when he or she is in front of people. Because what happens is, what you think you're afraid of is the energy that is being given to you by the people in front of you. That energy can lift you into much higher vibration and a much clearer mind and a much more open heart. So just beyond that so-called fear is a tremendous freedom. And if you be willing to give it a shot, for those who might be a little shy and think, well, I'd rather just write a book and just let it be at that, I'm saying there's a giant breakthrough awaiting you if you're willing to just give it a shot and see what happens. I think you'll be totally amazed at the energy you get. So yeah, you say conscious marketing. Everything is consciousness. It's all about consciousness. It's all about where you're coming from. It's like people say, where you're coming from. Where you're coming from is hopefully knowledge and clarity and compassion. If you have those 3, you'll do really, really well. And if you're an author, then you already have knowledge and clarity. And if you care about people, and I think probably everybody who is interested in what you're offering, Chris, cares about people. So everything, it's all the ingredients are there. It's just moving past, if there's any fear, just moving past that and be willing to step into a much higher level of vibration, which is available from public speaking. Even if it's a group of 5 or 8, 10 people, it's still a public,
So great, Cary. Thank you for that. And
Yeah,
I want to give you permission, because I hear you pulling the reins back just a little bit when we go into the realms of consciousness and maybe a sense of spirituality. I know I've got the book right here, which is not, and we're not going to dive into this one, the Star Wars and the yoga and the Force. But that's a level of consciousness that Lucas, let's talk about it from the writer's perspective. Let's talk about it. So I've got my favorite book right here. One of my favorite books, Cary. I've got my stack of books right now.
Hero with a Thousand Faces?
Oh, brother, you're
Okay,
so
close.
close.
I was close. Yeah, Joseph Campbell was one of his real mentors. Yeah.
Right?
Yep,
Exactly.
yep,
So
yep.
that's the eternal consciousness of the human dynamic and the human journey. And when you could tap into writing and shaping that, and then do all these components that Cary just talked about, the compassion, the knowledge, the clarity, the conviction, you will go. So how let's play. I'm going to throw us in the deep end where we don't know if there's a right answer or not.
Well, I'm right, as you can see, I'm right outside the Golden Gate Bridge here, so I'm very close to the deep end.
Yeah,
I won't jump off. I won't jump off though. That's
good. Don't jump off. Not
I
like
won't.
those Red Bull divers that jump from crazy high spaces, which is a level of fear. Look at that, everybody. There's an example. You
Right.
do it once, you do it again, you keep doing it, and you get good over time. They didn't start off jumping from these highest platforms.
Right.
They start
Sure,
off doing these little things, just like
sure.
Cary said. Go speak. If you got to speak in front of the Optimist Club, in front of the Elks Club, in front of the local ladies club, start somewhere
Right.
and grow from there. So, all right, let's take it back. Hero's journey. Cary, name a time, one of your early talks where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm about to give a talk right now. What did that look like?
It's really funny you asked that question. It was 1997. I had written a book called Prosperity Aerobics. It was the first nonfiction book I had written. It was all about using mental exercises to prosper. Just really what you're talking about, conscious, in this case, not marketing as much as conscious prospering. So I went to the Unity Church in Pompano Beach, Florida, which is the closest one to me. And my intention was to see if they would carry my book in their bookstore. That was my agenda. So I met with the minister and she took to me and she said, okay, we'll definitely carry your book, but I'd like you to also give a workshop on the book, which I hadn't done yet.
Smart
And
minister. Look at
okay,
that kickoff she gave
but
you.
here's the real kicker. She said, I also want you to give a sermon on it. I'd never given a sermon before.
Wow.
And she said, will you do that? And some part of me said yes. And the part of
Yes.
me that was watching it said, oh my God, I have to give a sermon now.
The knock at the door. The
Right.
knock at the door that the hero has
Exactly.
to answer.
Now, just so that your viewers or listeners know, I didn't know what the heck I was going to talk about. I just said yes. And, looking back, of course, the universe had a bigger idea than I did. I just wanted my book in their bookstore. Okay. So there was a little bit of fear because I'd never done it before. But it went incredibly well. And that launched me into giving sermons and workshops at more than 50 different Unity churches across the country. Yeah. So the point that I'm getting at here is that if you say yes, even though there's a part of it that wants to say no, don't listen to that part. Just say yes. It's like what Nike says, just do it. And if you do it, the universe has bigger plans for you. Because let's face it, you wrote a book, you know something. And most of the people of the world never wrote that book. You know a lot more than most of the people in the world based on what it is you wrote about. Share it.
I want to distill out from that. So one of the things that I'm an advocate for is that we teach people to go from the ahas, the goosebump spirit moments that you just gave me right now with
Right.
just do it, say yes.
Right.
And you take those ahas and you put them to action with a by when. So ladies and gentlemen, listening to this, as you talked about, go find an audience. Sometimes you're not exactly sure where your best audience is. Go step into that place and find out by saying, hey, are you carrying my book? Yeah. Will you do a workshop on your book?
Right.
Okay. Oh, yeah. And then we want you to do a talk about your book too.
Right.
In that, they gave you the tools for revenue and they gave you the tools for speaking.
Right. Not only that, they opened up ultimately that opened up 50 plus more similar churches across the country. Because then, you give a talk there and you get a quote from the minister, and that opens up a second door, at the Unity Church in Fort Lauderdale, or the one in Miami, or the one in Boca, and so forth. And all of that opens up once you allow the universe to market for you there. I mean, that's really what, I used to give talks to people who sell multi-level products.
Mhm.
And the affirmation I used to give them is, God is my upline. And what I found is that that's exactly what happened
Yeah.
here. I mean, I went to get a book in a bookstore, and the universe had a much bigger marketing plan for me. And that's what'll happen once you step out into something bigger than you're familiar with, the universe will help and give you other options. Even if she had said no, let's suppose she had said no. Okay, I'm not going to quit there. I'll go to Fort Lauderdale. I'll do the same thing. And
Right.
the bottom line ultimately is just keep moving, keep going forward.
There's a P word for keep
Let
moving.
me think. Begins with a P, there's an E in there, there's an
Uh,
R. Yes.
yeah.
Persistence,
This
performance.
persistence. Yeah. Um, really great. Let me see how we're doing on time, because I want to make sure we also highlight what you do now as a publisher. So we are bring your seats up to the upright position. Please start to put stuff back under your table. That's how fast time benders go.
I didn't realize we're on an airplane. How about that?
uh, I don't want to. I'm gonna have fun with you really quick.
I
I'm
like
gonna
fun.
I'm gonna step away from uh, what I was going to do, and I'm gonna say I want you to put on your, what hat would you like to wear? Your marketing hat, your how to speak about it hat. What's your zone? What's your best zone? When people say, Cary, I really need to hire you for an hour, you're like, okay, these are the things that I'm best at.
Right.
Tell me that.
I would say, based on what people tell me, I would say coaching is it really, because people, we live in a crazy world, and people have all kinds of worries, fears, doubts. Doubts are one of the great killers. A shaman once said, doubt is the enemy of the warrior.
Mm,
William Blake wrote, if the sun and moon would doubt, they'd immediately go out. And I really think that doubt holds so many people back. And one of the things that I like to do with people is to give them that feeling of safety,
yeah.
to move forward in their lives, because that's what they're here for. We're all here to live the fullest life. As Joseph Campbell wrote, life is really a pathway to bliss. When you're in tune with who you are. I wrote a book called How to Create a Lovelihood, Prospering by Living on Purpose. And in that book, I talk all about how, when you align yourself in terms of what you put out into the world based on what's really in your heart and mind and soul, the universe is going to give you great support, even if, like Harlan Sanders, you get some rejections. Because, the Wizard of Oz was a great movie, but if you took the Wicked Witch out of it, it wouldn't be such an interesting movie. She offered obstacles, which allowed Dorothy to transcend those obstacles and become a bigger heroine, really. Um, so the hero's journey sometimes has some obstacles. So there will be people who say no. That's okay. As I said before, you just keep moving forward. So yeah, I would say it's really giving people that sense of safety, and helping them see that breakthroughs, because my work is called breakthrough coaching, it's really breakthroughs are available all the time if they're just willing to open up to them.
Cary, you're awesome. Thank you for
Thank
pulling
you.
that together. You
Thank you.
took my legs right out. I was gonna be like, how would you coach? What would, and you just did it right now. You spoke it. Um, and that was excellent. Let's see. I'm gonna give you one of my favorites. I don't know if you know this author. This is Brendan Burchard. This is
Don't
his
know.
book, High
Hmm.
Performance Habits.
That's good.
I will be seeing him on this Friday. In fact, I think he is going to fill in that space when Tony at one point in time finally retires, Brendan's of that next group, and he's really fantastic. So in the world of performance, like you talked about, what are like 2-3 things that you say, look, in the coaching, I need you to do this, this, and this to build the muscles of performance? Because marketing, as we know, is consistency, 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 persistence, persistence, persistence. So how do you build that muscle in people who are like, I don't know if I could put out a lead magnet. I don't know if I could post every day. What am I going to post about?
Well, especially if they're authors, I tell them that you're an authority. You have knowledge. Share that knowledge. People are looking for that knowledge, and putting it out persistently, consistently, and even if there's a part of your mind that says, "Oh, who am I?" The answer to who am I is I am unique. There's only one of me in the whole world. No one can do a better me than me. The universe has given you all these talents. Share them and give people an opportunity to purchase what you know and what you do. If it's a book, then it's a product. If it's coaching, it's a service. We're all here to help one another, and you have a lot of knowledge. Just keep putting it out, as I said, persistently, consistently, and fearlessly. And even if there's fear, it's okay. You could put it out without, even in spite of fear. Courage, by the way, courage is not the absence of fear. It's the ability to act in spite of fear.
Yeah, really great. Really great. Okay. I want you to share, not about this so much as your publishing and how people could work with you to help them get their books out to the world, because you do have your own publishing arm as well. Conscious Publishing. Let me
Heaven on Earth Publishing.
Heaven on Earth Publishing.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is, if you, I mean, there are two clear ways of getting books out. One is the old traditional way of going through agents and publishing companies, and of course they do a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of distribution and marketing. But the other way, which is growing increasingly more common, is what we call self-publishing. And that allows you to direct everything, control everything. Many of the print-on-demand publishers also offer distribution and marketing services as well. Some will even offer design services. So if you have the knowledge but lack the design, distribution, or marketing or publicity skills, you can hire them on a piecemeal, a la carte basis to help you, or you can do it all by yourself. And those are all the options out there. People who are very industrious might want to do it all by themselves. Some who are maybe less so might want to a la carte, get these print-on-demand publishers to do a piece of that marketing, PR, or distribution. So those are that's what I would recommend. And I also recommend for those who are authors to see if you're an author, by definition, you know how to write. There are, depending on what it is you write, there are places where you could secure a possibility of bylined articles or columns. I've been writing a column for a number of wellness publications for going on about 20 years now. Wow. And not only does that offer people who raise your profile, but I've gotten clients from that. I've sold product from that. But also, when your book comes out, your next book comes out, you can go to them and ask them to do a profile of the book, or in some cases, if they're a little lazy, they'll give you a 2-page spread where you can write your own Q&A. I've done some of those as well.
That's so great.
That sells product too. But also, if you happen to be a coach or a consultant of some kind, you may wind up getting consulting or coaching services out of that as well. It's just looking at all the different opportunities out there. Don't restrict yourself to just writing the book. I mean, you can blog, you can share these things on social media as well. Excerpts, people love excerpts. I would restrict it to maybe 200-300 words. Don't, people have pretty short attention spans these days.
Right.
So you don't want to overwhelm them. But if you give, you'll receive. It's the universal law. So if you share knowledge, you will get something in return. That's just the way the universe operates.
Oh, Cary, fantastic. How can people find you? Well, I know there's Woodstock, which I think is pretty cool. That's part of your address, or Florida. So where would you like for them to contact you? Because we know that once they publish a book with you, they might want to go create the services next. And we know a guy who helps them create those online programs and courses and master classes. So how can they find you?
Yeah, I'll answer that, but that's the other piece. I didn't get into that, but of course that's another piece of it is you can turn your book into a webinar, you can turn your book into an ongoing series depending on how you want to play that. So there's so many different extensions of your knowledge, print, electronic, and so forth. Yeah, I mean, you can find me on the internet at carybayer.com. That's CaryBayer.com. You can email me at carybayer22@gmail.com. And if you'd like to talk to me, I'll even give you my phone number, 845-664-1883. Be happy to talk to anybody about anything that's relevant that we've been talking about here today.
Cary, really fantastic. And inside of the marketing piece where people are like, oh, I need my whole web page. I want to compliment you. You've got just a nice, clean, single, long web page that tells everybody, this is what I do. This is who I do it for. This is how long I've done it. Here's some of my expertise. Contact me. That's all you need, ladies and gentlemen. You don't need this massive in-depth website. You just need a way for people to get a hold of you and to see that you're not made up and that you're actually going to show up and make a difference. And a calendar link. Don't forget your calendar link on that too.
Yeah, the other thing is to just allow yourself to be out there. That's it. Just be out there, and if you're out there, people will come. What is that expression? If you build it, they'll come. From a field of dreams. The other
That's
thing
right.
is I also want to remind people: don't wait for absolute perfection. I'm not sure absolute perfection exists in the physical plane. Um, just get it out there. I don't mean to get it out there if it's not good,
Right. Correct.
but go through it, make sure it's what you like. Even if it's not perfect, it will never be perfect. No, I haven't seen anything that's perfect. Put it out there and let the world respond. But don't just put it out there passively and let the world respond. Put it out there and be proactive, as we've been talking about all this in this interview here, so that the world can respond more quickly.
Yes. There truly is. I think no one else is ever going to hustle someone's book as well as they will hustle their own book if they are passionate, if they believe in it, and they have the conviction and the competence to say this book makes a difference. Then go cause that audience, go cause that ripple, go cause that rising tide. And then if the agents and the publisher say, hey, did you see that kid making a splash over there? We should talk to him. Maybe he wants to come work with us. It doesn't always have to go you to them first. Let them come to you. But the only way they're going to come to you is if you get it out in the world and show them you're a good bet, right? Because all investments are you a good bet?
Yeah, I don't know. 30 some years ago, Trivial Pursuit was a gigantic phenomenon. The game, Trivial Pursuit. If I believe correctly, it started out, I think, in Canada as a self-done game, and then Selcho and Ryder, who market Scrabble, heard about it and said, "Hey, we got to get onto this thing here." The whole thing is really about just letting yourself just be comfortable about putting it out there. It's that simple. It really is that simple.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't wear all hats, ladies and gentlemen. You've got individuals like Cary, you've got myself, you have some of the other experts that are bookending this conversation where they're great at certain things. Stay in your lane and go deep with your lane. That's what's going to make the difference. Cary, I cannot like really from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being a yes. Thank you for coming out of the bullpen and just throwing strikes and giving people just the best that they could take in the world of author marketing. And if I missed anything, we'll do another dance another time, because I know that we're going to talk about this one here and some of your other books in the future.
Can I say one more thing, Chris? I want to say one more
Absolutely.
thing. You know, in working with over 325 different massage therapists, I've learned something very clearly, which is that a lot of people who are good-hearted have a difficult time selling, have a
Yes.
difficult time marketing. They think that selling and marketing are things that people do who are less than good people. We've
Yeah.
all seen the used car salesman motif there, so to
Yeah.
speak. You know,
Yeah.
people who just want to move something, and it doesn't matter if it's good or not. So what I say to those folks is, if selling and marketing is uncomfortable, think of it as sharing. Think of it as sharing what it is you know, because what it is you know can help people in one form or another. It can help people. Just keep sharing, and don't mind if you get as I said before, a rejection. Just keep sharing and sharing and sharing, and you can't lose.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. I ain't saying anything else after that. That was perfect.
Thank you.
Cary,
Very kind.
thank you.
My
Everybody,
pleasure.
go share your expertise. Go share your knowledge. Go share the difference that you make, and allow the universe, kind of like that Goethe quote, when you take action, Providence steps in. Go take action. Yeah. Right
Beautiful.
on, Cary. I'm going to stop this stream right now. Everybody, thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
My pleasure.
All right. Stream has stopped. And I'll go ahead and stop the recording too. Thank you all.